Hello, everyone. Say anything to anybody?
Hello.
Hello. All
Basically,
right.
I don't think I'm going to ever understand every culture out there. And, but I will just end by saying that's why I don't believe that the United States government or any government should be trying to dictate how Israel or Palestine or Iran or England or China, how they control their own lands until it affects me.
Unfortunately, you're right, but unfortunately, it's not that simple. Once those countries either been conned or duped into something, and they signed their death warrant by making a deal with the devil and
Yeah.
becoming a vassal slave state, just like Israel is, because even the elites of that region, not necessarily the American or the British, but there's also very, very powerful elements in Tel Aviv and Caesarea.
What we should talk about next time is why haven't the Arabs already intervened? Why haven't they launched attacks on Israel?
Some did, most of them didn't.
No, I'm talking an organized effort. Why hasn't, Turkey come in and organized it with Iran, with Egypt, Syria, whoever? I mean,
Lebanon,
this is
Jordan, and the list goes on. Yeah.
Saudi
Yeah.
Arabia. That's
So,
something that I think would be very interesting because there's obviously a reason why they haven't. Because Gaza, it's not like Gaza is new. October 7th was 6 months ago.
Yeah, but then was prior large scale operations and prior previous wars to prevent from them launching rockets at Israel. And I'm not just talking about the bottle
Six
size
months is a
diameter
lot of
rockets.
time to set up logistics. If somebody wanted to annihilate Israel, there's ample opportunity if you have the right players there. So why hasn't it happened? Are you still a practicing Jew? How has your life evolved since you've left Israel or when you were over there? I mean, were you? I mean, how deep are you into the belief of Judaism?
Well, I gotta tell you, if you take Judaism as a whole, you gotta kind of like understand it first. So you got like four main kind of like streams. First of all, you got the Eastern, they call usually Mizrahi or Sephardim Jews, which it mainly came from uh, Asia, Africa, the Middle East mainly. But once the Jewish kingdom, you gotta realize that the Jews, the modern word and the modern Jews of today are like the descendants of the sons of Israel, just like you would say modern day Iranian or the descendants of the proud Persians. Even until that day, most of them prefer to call Persian and Persia, not Iran. Um, if it makes any sense to some people who cannot make the distinguish, but just like in the Islamic faith, for example, or
Yeah, don't
Christianity,
call them don't call the Iranians Arabs, right?
well, because they're not. I mean,
Right,
if you look.
right.
Well, unfortunately, look, I don't want to be
And how are we
fixated.
going to know if we don't read history or know these things, right?
True, but also then again, like you gotta be very careful what kind of history do you read. Is that the mainstream of the BS we learned in elementary school, high school, when they teach you what they want you to know and how to remember what they want you to know, but not the genuine stuff. And when you grow up, you go through life, you go through puberty, you go through life, military or whatever it is you engage in. You don't have to go through military in order to officially they recognize between 203 to 204 countries as independent by the UN, and over 100 and something of them of those countries are Christian based. They label them as Christian based faith, even though it's kind of like a paradox when you always kind of like, oh, democracy, and we are separating between church and state, which in a lot of cases it's not the case. And then you've got 64 Muslim countries around the world. Again and again, only 22 of those 64 are from the Arab ethnicity. You got to remember, like nations like Indonesia, Malaysia, Turkey, Iran, Pakistan. There might be vast majority Muslims, sorry, but they're not Arabs. They're not from the Arab ethnicity. They might over the year mixed with some Arab ethnicity. That's true, but they're not Arab. They're not like, let's say, Egypt, Tunisia, Libya, Morocco, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Yemen even is in the mix. I'm not sure about Oman. I think so as well, but I'm not sure. Bahrain, Qatar, all those, you'll notice, even according to the traditional clothing items, you're gonna notice that the men wear that. It's a nasty terminology that came like that thing that goes around their head. It's called in Arabic kafiya. It's called like and the usual bigots will call it like towel heads and whatnot. Like, no, it's not a towel. It's a traditional wear.
And
Just like,
and Arabs come down from Ishmael, right? Is it
so
Ishmael? Right?
that's what I was gonna go get
Yeah.
into next. So basically, if you go into the three main Abrahamic religion, the monotheistic religion, they believe in one God and one God only through different messiahs and prophets. So that's Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Now, our prophets, the main ones are Moses and Elijah, mainly Moses, but he's the one who took us out of from slavery to freedom to liberty, according to the biblical story. But then again, there's a lot more to it on the religious and the biblical and this sorry religious and spiritual sense from the biblical perspective. But I'm just laying it out in simple terms at the moment. Um, Christianity, for example, you got Catholics, Orthodox, Mormons, Baptists, Seven-Day Methodists. You got several streams in Judaism, for example. If you take the courts, so you got the eastern side of the globe Jews, again called the Eastern Jews, Mizrahi or Sephardim. Um, those usually are like kind of like either the mixed white or the brown skin one, or even the black ones to some degree. Not to some degree, to a full degree. Um, and then you got the one who also considered, people call them the not Semitic, like that. Unfortunately, that bumbling idiot Gerald Salenti, who I have in the recent 2-3 months, I criticize heavily because I used to agree with what he says quite awful lot in relation to the economy, in relation to stupid decision being made by world leaders, whether if it's the U.S. government, UK government, the Israeli any government really, government overreach. But it seems that like he's not on an even keel. He's not balanced because he's he's saying like, oh no, the Jews are not Semites. The Arabs are Semites. Therefore, criticizing Jews is not anti-Semitics, being anti-Semitic. And I'm trying to say, and
I
I'm
think
putting
I
aside.
think he's referring to the Ashkenazi aspect.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It sounds Ashkenazi, but it's not. That the Sephardim is one side. In Hebrew, that's Nazis. We say Nazim or Nazi or Nazim. Ashkenazi, Ashkenazi. Not. I know that it's English. It's equivalent like okay, ASH, KA
So don't say
and
Nazi. Can you say it again? Ashkenazi?
Ashkenazi. Yeah, with the
Ashkenazi.
whether if it's with a single or double Z in the end, it's Ashkenazi, not necessarily
Ashkenazi.
Ashkenazi or Ashkenazis or whatever it is. It doesn't make them Nazis. However, there's something interested in there. Okay, so as I mentioned before, like before I go to the other religions, just to give people, you and
Yeah,
other
it's
people
it, it's a big topic. It's a big topic.
yeah, no, but I'm not gonna go into the all the in and outs and everything. So before I put that sidebar on Judaism, so in Christianity again, you got Catholics, the Orthodox Christians, and even then you got the split between the Western one, whose their church is either the Vatican or other churches, and then you got the Eastern Orthodox Church, mainly the Slavic nations, which originally that was the original church, but at least by information that I've gathered, but I'm not going to go into that. Uh, And then Islam, you got Shiites and Sunnis. The vast majority of the Islamic world, 85%, is Sunnis. Only the minority are Shiites. Now there is a over there, there's a genuine difference of beliefs. It's not just about, okay, we believe in the same God through the same prophet, and we might have different way of dressing or customs. Over there, it's a complete, they can literally in between states, they can slaughter each other, like left, right, and center, just because the Shiites more like believe in the night of the split, when their prophet Muhammad passed, and then because they didn't believe that a woman should inherit uh, assume the mental of the, what do they call it, the 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 Mahdi, they call it. So no, the Imam, yeah, the Mahdi, the Imam but basically they believe that that the granddaughter of Muhammad wasn't, she was pure in their eyes, but she wasn't fit. So the Shiite believe she should have inherited it, and the Sunnis that believe in the Wahhabi doctrine, which is the purest form of Islam, believe that no, it should have gone to other blood relatives of their prophet, whether if it's a cousin or brother or second degree cousin or nephew or whatever, as long as it's not a woman. And then by the time time rolled over, as the centuries went by, uh, when they reached to the fourth Imam after Muhammad passed away, uh, he asked all the people who followed Muhammad and over the years and wrote everything he said. Back then, they used to carve it on stones or on a special paper. Uh, it's not really a paper. It's more like a card, like a hardened card made out of a animal skin, like a deer or you know. So yeah, so basically, he ordered to, and this is when we get to religious politics, and that's the heavy topic you mentioned that we're not going to get into. Basically, whatever was not allowed into the Quran got burned, and then collectively they put only uh, good or bad, handpick, cherry picking, and they put
That's
it in the
right.
Quran.
Right. Rewriting
And
history, right?
yeah, and the sixth collection of Ahadith. Don't forget that out of the three Abrahamic religions, they believe in one God. That is, not excluding, but I'm just saying, like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Islam is the youngest one. Islam is Islam is like what, like 600, 500, 600 after Christ. And then if you go and by the Victorian, what people like to call the Victorian calendar, but the Christian calendar, so it's 2024 since Christ was Joshua, Jesus, over the years. And don't forget, he was Jewish himself. I mean,
Well, you know,
Jesus,
I've heard debates on that actually recently. I see. Who know? Yeah, I've heard debates that he's Jewish. I've heard debates that he was actually.
a
What?
Palestinian? No,
Uh, no, he was.
no,
I,
he
I,
was
I forget. Yeah, to be quite
Judean,
honest with you,
Samaritan, Israelites. It's kind of
well,
like
you know, I need to. You know, I try to understand history just so that I understand why there are certain things going on in the world. But it's hard, you know, when I haven't lived a history or it's not really part of my life, it's difficult to remember it all. Like, for
neither
example, I
is
know
that.
I've read about how Islam got started and spread because I understand the stories about how Christianity spread. But when you look at Islam, Islam has 2 or 3 million people are now Muslims or Islam, belong to Islam, right? Believe in Islam. And
No, I think you're confusing million with billions. Yeah,
billion, billion, that's what I meant, 2 or 3 billion.
yeah.
And so it obviously, I don't know how it ended up spreading, but I don't know if it was grassroots like Christianity was, where people used to have to hide and not do it in public for fear of retaliation. But we don't have to go off on this tangent because we'll be here for 5 hours.
To begin with, religion was formed up, and how the old scriptures, like with the sons of Israel, was the Torah, and you got other scriptures that like called the Zohar, the Mishnayot, the Talmud, the Kabbalah, the the Gemara, and then in Christianity, there is a debate whether if they left behind, because again, Jesus, Joshua, in his Yoshua, in his Hebrew name, he was Jewish. The only thing is he didn't even form up and invented Christianity. He was trying actually to reform Judaism. That's where the split happened, and he had kind of like back and forth arguments with, back in the days, the elders of, like the elders, it's called the Sanhedrin Council, of basically been led by uh, a dozen or more really elderly, really wise rabbi at that time, and they would kind of like steer and navigate the sons of Israel through difficult, hard times, making decisions. At that time, we were. It's after the kingdom of Jerusalem and the kingdom of Israel, both kingdoms. There was a split after King David and King Solomon. Their King Solomon's son and grandson committed a lot of transgression towards their own people, out of being kind of like not weak, but they want to be seen as formidable in front of the people. So they want to maintain their father's and grandfather's good name, King Solomon and King David. So they made a few mistakes, and they went to a few unsanctioned, unnecessary, not wars, but I would say working the people, issuing taxes, which, by the way, is illegal by Judaism, especially charging interest or compounded interest, or and
Usury.
basically,
Yeah.
sorry.
Usury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but forget about the fact that it's illegal even uh, in modern day law. Either
You
way,
say you're saying it's illegal in the Jewish religion?
I'm saying it's illegal. It's illegal even in modern days law, man-made law. But yeah, by Judaism, it's extremely forbidding to, let's say, to lend money to someone and charge him interest on that money. I know that a lot of individuals from all of the religions practice it. They're called loan sharks, whether there be Jews or Christians or Muslims,
Yeah,
or
I
even
think
from,
I think the Muslims also are against that as well.
yes, they are, but when it comes to the institutional thing, they're not. And the same can be said about modern day Judaism. And you got to remember that again, uh, when it comes against to the split of like you got Sfaradim, Eastern Jews, and you got Ashkenazim, not Ashkenazis. Ashkenazis. Ashkenazis sound like the Nazis or the Nazis. But
Mhm.
here's where the interesting. When the split happened because uh, biblical mistakes of past kings of the kingdom of Israel, which was vast, and then there was the split between the tribes. There was the kingdom of Jerusalem, when the king used to sit, and then there was the kingdom of Israel, which the other 11 tribes used to sit. There was the Judea tribe, which Benjamin tribe was kind of like assimilated into, but basically there was more than 12 tribe. Again, religious politics, but when you really investigate the ancient history, then there was more than even 13 tribes. I think there were kind of like smaller tribes that kind of like got pulled by the bigger tribes.
Mhm.
Um, so Benjamin went along with Yehuda, and then you had the other tribes together forming up the kingdom of Israel. And then when they got conquered, the kingdom of uh, I think it was the kingdom of Israel that fell down first, and then whoever managed to run away went to exile, and the kingdom of Jerusalem survived a lot longer after that. My main point is when the tribes of Menashe, Gad, Issachar, Zvulun, um, all those tribes, even I think Yosef, Joseph, the Joseph tribe, yes, Yosef. Uh, they went into exile. They went all over the place, and I'm talking about all the way from the edge, the tip of Western Europe to the all the way to South Africa, and all the way to what we know today is Russia, China, India. There's a lot of
Yeah, the diaspora.
yeah, but there's a lot of assumption nowadays that a lot of India is a very big country. There are almost 1 billion people. Now they contain different segments of Buddhism, Hinduism, Sikhism, Baha'i, and Islam as well. There's a there's the there's a very strong suggestion that the tribe of Menashe got torn up when they crossed. So some of them, uh, not a lot of them, a small percentage ended up in Africa, mainly in the southeast region of Africa, but the vast majority of them ended up in India. And then over the years, human evolved, and there was a lot of ancient wars we don't even get to hear about. At the same time, there was back and forth crusades between Christianity to Islam, Islam to Christianity. The thing is, between different sheikhs, imams, azads, kings, the Catholic Church, etc. The thing is, uh, people tend to forget that kind of history, and that, by the way, with the corridor created also in relation to what we know in modern days as gypsies. The gypsies actually were originally native Indians, Hindus, not Indians like in the United States, the Native Americans, but Hindu. And because of internal wars and persecution by the Eastern Front of Islam, they had to escape. So they escaped through that corridor that leads to where nowadays on the map, if you open the map, Southeast Africa, and that's where Somalia, Eritrea, Ethiopia, all those places over there. So they ran over there, and from there all the way to Eastern Europe over the years, like they scattered literally over there, Eastern Europe. And we're talking about millions upon millions. Over nowadays in Europe, you got like over 5, maybe even 6, maybe even over 10 million gypsies scattered, but they mainly like concentrated in Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, and they kind of like spread like everything. They got kind of like a unique but also wild culture. They always gonna have each other's support and back, even if they disagree with each other, and they I don't know, they don't like each other, or whatever it is. But yeah, it's quite fascinating to study about all those things, and even if it's just by passing, not to go deep into it too much. And uh, again, going back to Judaism, so the split happened, and until this very day, the very large tribe of Menashe is presumed to be lost in modern day India, and some of them, some, let's say, Jewish people who consummated the right of return to their ancestral homeland, which is modern day Israel, or at least part of that land. So they basically came from India. Some of them are genuine Jewish people. Some of them, however, they go 5, 10, 12, 15 generations back. They're not Jewish, but they converted in time from one reason or the other. But there is a lot of people who are
Well, let me
Hindus
ask you
now.
a quick question. If somebody converts to Judaism, they weren't born a Jew.
Yeah,
Their bloodline, it doesn't come from Jew. Are they considered um,
100. They gonna have to.
Are they considered one of God's chosen people if they convert? Like Ivanka Trump, is she considered now one of God's chosen people because she converted? Or is it only if your mother, isn't it if your mother was Jewish?
Okay, by the law of the religion itself, in order for the children, boys and girls alike, to consider Jews, yes, the mother has to be at least the mother has to be Jewish, preferably like obviously the mother and the father, but the mother. According to Islam, however, in order for the children to be Muslims, the father has to be Muslim. It doesn't matter what the mother is. So imagine yourself a situation when a Jewish mother and a Muslim father. So according to Muslims, he's a Muslim. According to Jews, he's Jewish. Or alternatively, none of the faiths will accept him because he's have no identity. He's kind of like a mix, a hybrid. And I know several of
They
them,
had
and
a problem in Ireland, the orange and the green.
yeah, but you see, that's my point. When you start splitting hairs like that without an exact determination of what's what, who's who, or just like accept the fact that this is a mix, that's all it is. It's all it is. Like so, if you're not just gonna accept it, so I don't know
Well,
that's
you've
really
said it before. I mean, and I've heard this from other people who lived. I mean, the actual people who live on the ground, who aren't in government, who aren't running religions, they usually learn to live together, to work together, to trade with each other. It's usually
most of the time. It's a yes and no because I'll tell you what. Like you remember that I did the split between the eastern side of the globe, Jewish people that went into exile, into the eastern side. So they developed a certain appearance, a certain tradition. Like I mean, the rules are apply both to Sephardim and
yeah.
Ashkenazim.
What is it? Ethiopian blacks are like a lot of Jews are in Ethiopia or Somalia, one of those countries.
Ethiopia, Somalia,
Yeah,
Eritrea, they call the
right.
Falashmur Jews from one reason or the other. There's still a lot of them over there, but from yet again political reasons, they don't bring them to Israel from some sort of a messed up reason.
Yeah.
I don't know, because they highly doubt on their Jewish origin. So I'm saying, why don't you test their knowledge, or alternatively, I don't know, do a bloodline test or whatever it is, DNA test or whatever it is, just do a sequence of the DNA. But they just refuse. But again, but if it's budgetal issue or how much can they contain as a country, and then like okay, but the eastern side of the Jew, the Sephardim are mainly uh, from Africa, Asia, all over Africa, North Africa, Central Africa, but mainly North and South and Southeast of the continent. There is some in Central and West, but not as much uh, as there used to be, if any, today. And then you've got like also from Jews from Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Jordan, Egypt, Tunisia, Libya, Morocco. You just name it. Like they came from all over. When even before the Jewish state was formed up, there was still Jewish settlements and villages in what we know today as the state of Israel. Over 550, 560 thousand Jewish people, alongside either nobody, people who passes by, or people who decided to stay next to them, people who are recognized today as Palestinians. You do realize that if you go back in history, and that's a really smart question that even a Japanese student asked, and he's got no affiliation to any religion. And he asked a very smart question. If Palestine is a genuine country with genuine flag and nation, was ever a nation, tell me, besides waving your flag, tell me who was your first king or prime minister or president or elected official, unelected official. What was your currency? What was your customs? Stuff like that. Again, the Palestinians were forming up in the transition, and it's a long stretch. I know that. I'm not trying to take it away from them. First of all, let's start from the fact that in the days of King David and King Solomon, with it was mainly obviously across the kingdom, it was Jewish people, but there was a lot of merchants who were Christian, clergymen, monks, or Christian crusaders who came to pray in Jerusalem. next to the first and second Jewish temple. Before and during when it was formed up, but not after the wars. Obviously, maybe even there were one there, or they were escaped or died with some of the soldiers or civilian population at that time. The, the fascinating thing is that, like under King David and King Solomon, there was a lot of world peace made not after the fact of combat and war, it through political marriages and agreement. Did you know that, like, the king or the ruler of what we know as modern day Lebanon had an agreement with, I think it was with King Solomon, the son of King David, to supply the high quantity, high quality um, wood to the construction of one of the temple. Again,
Yeah,
I'm not
you mentioned that last time.
exactly. So, like, how do we get, like, from back then in the ancient days when there was much, we can agree, much more strictness and
Well,
cruelty.
you know,
And
Elisha, countries come and go, right? Borders change, but you can see that with the criminals who have taken down really the United States over the last 50 years.
then some.
Their allegiance is not to the Constitution of the United States or to the country. Their allegiance is to whatever group they belong to that has been around a lot longer than the United States. I firmly believe that there are
secret
groups.
societies Secret societies that have cut a path through the ages. But everybody thinks, or tend to thinks, that everything is controlled by evil Jews or Zion. By the way, just a quick
No,
reference.
it's natural. If you and I, 1,000 years ago, were trying to survive and
Yeah.
consolidate our power for our future generations, it only made sense that the powerful people would get together and create a monopoly of some sort, create a consortium that would benefit themselves. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
that's
how
just
far?
human nature.
Fair enough, but it's also within human nature, besides the survival and egoism or whatever it is, egotistic kind of thinking of, again, not because I'm selfish, because I want to survive. I don't give a fuck about anything else. Apologies for the language, but this is just how it is, how things are. So I can agree with you to some degree, and I think we're reaching to another boiling point in history right now with everything that's going on around the world. And I'm not just talking about the war, supply chain, the economy, everything's going bad. Everything's going rotten. My
Well,
main,
it goes to the standpoint that if and again, there's so many tangents. Would you consider Iran a
yeah,
homogenous country, a homogenous population?
some segments of the population, I will have to say yes. The
Well,
majority,
a majority. I mean, 80% are probably very similar to each other. Correct?
yeah, but you see, that's where the television programming, the media,
No, no, don't. Just answer my question,
yeah,
because I don't. I've never been there, but in my understanding of Iran, there's always going to be different fringe elements, but it's like China. 80% of Chinese are Han Chinese, right? I suspect, a high percentage of Koreans up in North Korea are of similar ethnicity. And I think in Iran, the same thing. And it's funny how you look around the world, and those are the countries who are. I don't know. I'm just thinking those are the countries that are kind of bastardized by Western media. Are those homogenous countries?
exactly.
As it
Basically, like, listen, if you were born and lived in Iran, modern day Iran, actually, again, it's Persia. Uh, if you live over there, you were born over there. Listen, they're not those people over there. The natives. They're not monsters. They're not like vampires looking to behead you or deform you or burn you alive or something like 24/7 just because you're different or you believe in a different faith. They do, however, enforce a strict religious laws, which in a lot of people eyes
All
are
I'm trying to
like,
say is with homogenous, populations, they typically have a way of doing things that they find acceptable for themselves.
yeah, but don't think
And
for a second that they don't have the equivalent of like what you would call, let's say, a black market or an underground kind of thing, just like in the West. Maybe it's not like as uh, kind of like in a very dep depravity and licentiousness way,
Mhm.
but they do have it nonetheless. And it's not just the common folks, the everyday common people. You'll see that in most cases it's with the puppet politicians and the elite of that country or of that region. Again, rules for me and rules for thee. That's how they don't think for a second they're any different, because if you look throughout history, even before the biblical days and before the creation of the world, and when everything was in the biblical sense was chaos, if it's quite fascinating. Okay, did they have technology? If they did, what was technology for them? I mean, like, how did they manage to map the alignment of the star in such a precise cycle? How did they manage it? Do it with what? With sticks and shards of glass? What exactly did it with? And furthermore, how did they manage to build ancient structures like the pyramids, for instance, that until this very day, with the most high tech, precise laser machine, you cannot reach to that precision of, let's say, putting the tip of the pyramid, like the
yeah, and
squarish
those,
triangle.
yeah, and they're all over the globe.
Yeah, no, no, yeah,
I mean,
but in such
Mexico has
accuracy,
them. Yeah.
because remember that besides the ancient Egyptians and the ancient pharaohs, you also had the Aztecs uh, um, and the Maya sons, and you had before that, or in a parallel time in different regions in the world, you had the Akkadians and the Zoroastrians, and you got so much. If you will collectively like research each and every one of them individually and then collectively see on the timeline, and that's, I think, one of the main thing that people need to get into their thick skull, and start from that notion. From this moment, go back to the dawn of history, even when the first cavemen started to use a stick and a stoned wheel or whatever it is. Yeah, go back to the dawn of history. There was always, on an endless timeline, always, I don't know, one individual, a person, or a human being who disagreed with another, who fought for food and resources, or even for a woman with another, or one group or one tribe for that matter, one tribe who fought with another, and they fought with another. And back then, I don't know if they have that terminology of, okay, let's sit down, have a sit down and make peace. So maybe they call it something else. So maybe they call it trial by combat. Our best warrior against your best warrior, and let's settle at that. That's it. No more people, men, women, children have to die. I don't know if the first Neanderthal savages, like, which is not necessarily a bad thing, and knew how to do that, but in time we evolved. Like, not just in, well, I'm not sure about physically, but over here, and now we're regressing. We're not evolving and progressing. We're regressing back in a very decadent, rotten way. And I'm not talking about as a woke liberal, because I'm a conservative libertarian just like you. Only I like to be fair with my descriptions, and like not to kind of like vilify someone. Since time immemorial, since the dawn of history, you always had one individual or a group of individuals or a tribe or uh, uh, I don't know what, or big nation fighting with another nation or several other nations, conquering them, sometimes by means of just assimilating them to to their own, sometimes by means of a brutal conquest of war, and eventually like taking all the goods and the women and children, sometimes even by brutal means of just executing anyone and everyone, unfortunately. And tell me it's human nature. Tell me it's a part of a greater design, a bigger plan of God Almighty. That's a point I'm going to leave out from this discussion. But what I'm saying is,
Most of us are capable of that.
no, I know that. I'm well aware of that. But what I'm saying is, like, again, we're capable of the most horrible, horrendous, off god awful things, and history showed it to us time and time again. But also, we're capable for the most loving, caring, compassionate things, and unfortunately, that nowadays is in short supply. Be caring about each other, love each other, be charitable, be nice to each other, even to your neighbor or the one across the street. And again, as
Well,
I
no,
mentioned,
I think right. I'm just going to interject. I think it's because people have at least the problem in the United States. I can't speak for England or Israel or any of the other. In the United States, that used to be done with community and local communities,
uh,
and
UK is just much the
today
same.
people expect government to take care of that, and that's why it's poorly lacking.
But that's the point. Like, okay, UK was very similar to the United States and also Israel. Back in since it's forming up. Don't forget that in 47, 48,
Yeah.
Israel was not the only country who got their independence from the UN, who made another puppet show to, that I recently discovered. Then, obviously, I'm not talking about the land and the people, but Israel itself.
Yep.
It's not really a country. It's not even a state. I don't know how it became from a country and a state. Slowly but surely, they made it a private corporation listed in one of the three Empire State cities in the city of London. Believe it or not, it's a private corporation. Again, this is why people like should wake up, especially people who claim to be fair and just with their judgment. Like I mentioned him earlier, Jared Salente, he should he should be fair with his judgment, because he's the second generation of immigrants from Italy. For example, he was from he's basically, his parents migrated from Napoli in Italy,
Hmm.
uh, and he was born in the Bronx in New York.
Hmm.
Okay, that's great. So you're a second generation of immigrants. How about if I'll come to you and tell you, like, why go back just 70, 80 years or so? Why not go 200, 250 years ago? Why don't you vacate yourself and your whatever left of your family, go back to Italy and give back the land to the natives, which you locked up right now in reservation, the Indian reservation? Why don't you do that? Again, with no offense to Americans, but what was it? 250 or arguably slightly more years ago, even before the Constitution was formed up, there was mass migration from Europe, Ireland, England, Italy, Spain, a
Sure.
lot of nations of Europe. They were migrating to escape the Catholic Church or the Mormons or the Baptists. They were migrating not just to explore. Some of them were exploring and excavating the
Yeah,
bigger world.
they're escaping persecution. Absolutely.
Yeah, but again, like, there were also before them, before they knew about the great new world, the mapped, sorry, the mapped world, the maps stopped at one point or another after the Americas were discovered, North and South America. So there was mass migration of European people, descendants of others, whether it was with the Gauls or the Celts. The modern day Europeans are the descendants of the Slavic nation, Aryan nation, even the barbarians and the Gauls and the Celts and the Cilicians and the Thracians, and you just name it, older nations that you can't even fathom and can remember how old they are and how back in history they go, how many thousands of years. And again, I'm going to go back to something you mentioned earlier, but my main point is that like they migrated, and at first they kind of like assimilated with some of them, the native. Some of them were afraid, so they were brutal to them. But some of them were like kind of like okay, try to form some sort of sign languages, like uh, that's my name, like is like pointing myself, Shay or Eli Shay, um, and then the chief would have said how or something like that. Whatever, however you can play it back in the back of your mind. But then again, like over time, more and more people came to escape any type of persecution based on, I don't know, their religion, their culture, their views, their the color of their skin.
Well, it comes down. I understand, but it comes down to it's if this is going to take way too long, amigo. We're going to have to focus here because if we're going to start getting into the history of mankind and how it led to genocide, we'll be here all night
Yeah,
because
okay. So we're not gonna do that. But
no, I want to just cut this off because it's
it's all
the
interconnected.
way
That's
the
all I'm trying to say.
I don't think either one of us. I don't think people today in modern society have any idea how difficult life was back then, and when basic materials and things that you needed for survival were rare and difficult to acquire. And so unfortunately, that's the way we are. We're brutal animals when it comes down to if we were on a lifeboat, right, and it came down to okay, there's enough food or water for 2 out of the 3. It's like when you have three coyotes and a sheep. Who's for dinner, right? That's just the way it's always been. And I think it will. If there was a crisis in the world, which maybe there is, right?
Already.
Maybe there is. Maybe what's going on in the world right now is there's a group that's deciding who's going to live and who's going to die going forward. We have complete information, amigo. We don't know what's coming down. If there was some meteor coming to the earth, or if there was something's changing in the earth, if there was some crisis coming that you and I weren't aware of that was going to change the earth forever, do you think that the governments and the people who knew would tell us? No.
No, they're not. But that's my point. You see, when you mentioned earlier, there's a group of people very powerful with a lot of with a lot of access to vast amount of resources, knowledge, wealth, power, influence. You just name it.
Yeah.
People think to things, and it's all a puppet show. It's all a big ginormous
And it's never
psyop.
going to change. It's never
It's
going
never
to
gonna.
change.
It's
Never.
and that's what breaks my heart. They think the Jews controlled the world, and all the last 4, 5, six
Well,
hundred years of worldwide genocide and wars are because of the Jews. That's incorrect. First of all, if you notice, if you notice, whether if it's the
Well,
puppet
it's
politicians,
because it's easy to make a target on the Jews because guess what? In the United States government, you have these dual citizens, the neocons, right? And then in all these banks, like Larry Fink and these others, they all happen to be Jewish, right?
Larry Fink
So
is
it's
BlackRock. Larry Fink
right,
is
correct.
Jamie. So what do you say about the CEO
J-
of
J.P. Morgan, Jamie Dimon,
yeah,
right?
he's not. Well, what are you going to tell me? He's Jewish. You're going
I
to tell
have
me
no. He
he's
who
not.
knows what he is,
He's
but
not.
he's
But
a
even
Greek,
he's
I
an
believe.
employee of the owners. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, like the Federal Reserve, right? But
Yeah,
my
fair.
my point is I really don't care what label we want to put on these people. there's clearly an evil, and
Yeah.
this is the thing, is I think see, it's hard to put all that, because since 9/11 for me, evil has not even tried to hide their evil. They come out, and their attitude now is they will do whatever they want to do because they know nobody's going to stop them. And that's the way I look at Ukraine. It's the way I look at Gaza. It's the way I look at 9/11, because their attitude is we can do it and there's nothing you can do about it. That's why our Congress in the United States passes these bills that nobody wants. Nobody wants this shit, because they
Yes.
know there's nothing you can do to stop it, because the people who control everything want it.
And what have I mentioned? Like, not just in the previous conversation we had, also in prior
So I think
conversations.
it's lazy just to blame one group of people, because I don't care if you're a Jew, a Christian, or a Muslim. If you're evil, if you're
You're
doing these
evil.
things,
True.
then you're an
True.
enemy. You're an
Yeah,
enemy.
but I'm trying to make like three really important points, like really briefly. Like, first and foremost, okay, you and I view a lot of things as evil. First, I'm going to start like by quoting what I said in previous conversation, and
All right, well, let's define evil then. Let's define evil.
no,
Evil to me
okay,
is when you intentionally hurt somebody else.
yes, with no
Okay,
just cause, with no just cause.
with either for your own gain or for your own pleasure. That's evil.
Yeah, yeah, we can agree on that. And evil, unfortunately, at modern times, especially nowadays, take many forms, uh, and in very various shapes. Whether if it's directly and indirectly a sequence of events. Let me tell you something. You mentioned something that, like, again, it's all overlapping information and very very intertwined. They're very connected to each other. So you said the Congress in the United States is so corrupt and so pre-bought and paid for. Um, they pass in all those rules and regulation and legislations and bills and whatever, putting bills on. Nobody wants this shit besides the people who have shit for brain, or but the vast majority, you're right, they don't want this. Or some of the people are too damn lazy, ignorant, and tired to even understand what does it means.
Mhm.
What does it mean for me and my family or my future generations, like my grandchildren, my great grandchildren? What does it mean for me? How they gonna live? What kind of a world am I gonna leave for them behind? Don't think it's something. Also, by the way, just a quick hyphen over there. Don't think it's something uniquely just for the United States. It's a global phenomenon.
Yeah.
Like, and as that's this is where my I'm not going to call it a silver line, more like a punch line goes into this. Sorry about that, I
Well,
guess.
I think the goal is for those people not to be around.
Okay, but listen, people in modern times, people will do, whether if it's a commoner or whether if it's a puppet, or a third level elite, second level elite, first level elite, or the highest of the highs. Yeah, the people we don't even know their names or their faces. Or maybe we got a face, we don't have a name. We got a name, we don't have a face to connect the name to. Uh, Let me tell you something. People eventually, when you go into a such insane level of society, depravity, licentiousness, wokeness, all that fucking filth that they toss in on us and our children. Hate speech. What's hate speech? Free speech, first of all. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
And then, like, why are you calling it hate speech? It means it's a speech that you hate.
Well, of
The
course.
people with it's a speech that you hate, so you want to censor me, not to say what I've got on my mind and on my heart. Now,
And you'll never get peace and understanding between groups as long as you're censoring what one group has to say.
exactly, but that's further in my point. Okay, first of all, what happened to I disagree, firmly disagree, and to the point of like I don't even want to hear it. But what you have to say, but I'll defend to death of your right to say it because you have just as much right to stand on the stage and say what you got to say, even if you are fucking genocidal maniac who want to exterminate anyone who's everyone and leave only his own family alive worldwide.
See, that's the fallacy of the United States is people believe that's what the United States is based on with the Constitution, but I think we can see in history that that's not true. And right now everybody's
Why?
cheering this TikTok bill when in reality they're eliminating your ability to communicate and to speak.
Listen, can I tell you something about that legislation, that piece of garbage that they passed on TikTok? If they did it to TikTok, they can do it to any platform. Let's do it.
Yeah.
You need
Yeah, of
and
course.
if they did it to a massive giant like TikTok that was destined to bury YouTube, and other platforms, broadcasting platform for that matter, they can do it to anyone. If they did
Of
it
course.
to a such, they can do it. So who are we individuals allegedly, like individually, but collectively we got a bit more power. Here's my point. You're saying history has shown us the bad side, but also the good side, and here's why. Because you're saying like, okay, how can you let free speech running wild in its most purest form, and then let people like Hitler or his predecessors rise up again? Here's my counterpart nowadays because of what history taught us. Recent modern history, hundreds of years, thousands of years back. Nowadays, when we are much more well informed in this, well, at least some of us, not all of us, or I don't know, 50-50, put a cap or a number on it. But my main point is nowadays, people who will rise up and speak like the way Hitler spoke, there'll be more ability to sniff it out. And those kind of people are more likely to lose support and lose friends than to gain support and gain friends. Unless again you got a dumbed down, docile, apathic, sociopathic, psychopathic society as we have today. Because today, gullible people will believe anything and everything you tell them. If you tell them that for, I don't know, 6 to 8 months, go and riot in the street and burn like, I don't know, like 20 major cities in the United States and riot in like, I don't know, like a dozen or more different states just because one guy, and he was all staged to begin with. You know that summer of love of 2021. You remember that when the United States was on fire until this very day, until like literally, and not even in end 2022, mid end 2023 of last year, there was still young people who don't know the difference between their elbow to the rear end in Manchester over here in the UK, and I'm from London. I'm residing in London. They were still gathering in the town square with their demonstration or freedom of expression permit. I guess you got to have a permit for that nowadays. You cannot just stand with the megaphone and preach or say whatever it's on your mind, on your heart. You have a permit for that, especially for certain of number of people onwards. Either way, if it's in a public area, it's in a public area. If I'm not disturbing anyone in a residential area, that's a different story. But again, I'm digressing. My main point is, you see all those young, allegedly educated students who are poorly educated. They don't know the difference between their elbow to the rear end. And they're like, say his name, George Floyd. Say his name, George. I mean, like, okay, it was tragic. Whatever went down over there, whether it was stage, real, an accident, an actual act of like, okay, I'm going to do this because I hate people with your kind of like religion or skin color, whatever it is. Again, as I mentioned before, I don't care about different shades of white, different shades of brown, black, red skin, Native American, yellow. mix. I'm a mixture myself. So, but I don't like also that all those words, race, racial. In the end of the day, we're all part of the same race. That would be the human race. I just wish that people put the personal shit aside and get on with it. I mean, if it's personal, keep it to yourself, or if you want to share it, but there's ways to do it. Um, Going back to the groups who are controlling the world, yeah, you can say I can tell you to some degree exactly who they are. Whether if you look at the different clubs that forming up a bigger club, and you and I are not part of it. So let me tell you this: whether if it's I don't know the individual people, or or the families, or the Club of Rome, or the Illuminati, or the Council of Foreign Relations, or the Trilateral Committee, and all um, the Black nobility, the this, the Zionism, whatever. The they they composed at the top of the top. They're composed out of 120 men and women who sit in a council, and every 2 years, listen carefully to what I'm telling you right now. That's vetted. That's true. Every 2 years, they got two chairmen. One is a male. The second is a female. One man, one woman. The chairman of those 120 people. They come from all over the globe, from different backgrounds, cultures, religion, ideology. You just name it. Every 2 years on the clock. I don't know by what calendar they go in with, if it's the divine calendar or the satanic calendar. I don't know if they're going by the Jewish calendar, the Chinese calendar, the Victorian calendar, the Christian. You just know. They're going by that. And they pass on the marching orders to the lower class level elites, and to the puppet, who in turn forward and convey those marching orders to the puppet politicians. Now, um, when you come to think of it, you got a situation in which, uh, when it happens, when it happens, there's many global events that seem irrelevant or untied to one another, but they are, and it's the same old playbook. Do we gotta be seen doing something, even if it's absolutely nothing, which apparently eventually is something grandiose. And this is exactly what happened in past wars and even in current wars, just like you mentioned in the beginning of the conversation. Ukraine and Israel are sideshows in order for the Western elites, they call them that. And again, whether if they believe in God, don't believe in God, um, whether if they believe in anything really, we don't know. And you said, like, let's say for example, they could be evil. Do you know? I tend to agree with you, but do you know why, from the perspective of everyday normal human beings, regular people, or maybe irregular, very special, very unique human beings, but still just, you know, like you and I, or Jim, or anyone else for that matter, in a different range of ages, we perceive them as evil. And I'm going to say something right now, it's going to be very controversial, but sometimes their decisions from our perspective that looks very evil, from their angle, in the back of their mind, it looks very pragmatic, productive, efficient, in order to eliminate future problems. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just calling it as it is. In the back of their mind, in the back of their minds, some of them, I would not even hesitate to say the vast majority of them, whether if that council that composed out of 120 men and women, whether if there be Jews, Christians,
Well,
Muslims,
for example, okay, Dan and I will have this debate sometimes
yeah,
where in the US, you need a license to drive, you need a license to fish, you need a license for so many things that you just don't have the freedom to just do what you want to do. But any idiot can have a child.
See,
okay,
this is why.
Which has a much greater impact on society.
Live long, prosper.
Hello, everyone.